to your calendars. From December 1st, Singaporeans can redeem their $100 tourism vouchers.
Ready for a rebound, Singapore's economy is set to expand by as much as 6% next year.
And delayed for at least 2 weeks, we discuss what's next for the Singapore-Hong Kong air travel bubble. Hello, you're watching The Big Story, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. I'm Olivia Quay.
I'm Haryanto Dimana. You can subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode.
Now, for the 13th day in a row, 0 COVID-19 cases were reported in the community and foreign worker dormitories. This is the longest stretch that Singapore hasn't had a community case since the first COVID-19 case was reported here on January 23rd.
But 5 imported cases were confirmed today. All were placed on stay-home notices on arrival in Singapore. Now, more details will be released tonight.
Well, if you're a Singaporean 18 years old and older this year, you can redeem your SingapoRediscovers Vouchers from next Tuesday, December the 1st.
Eligible users can browse and book staycations, attraction tickets and local tours through 5 online booking platforms. Changi recommends Global Tix, Traveloka, Trip.com and Klook. The vouchers can be spent on approved hotels, attractions and tours, but cannot be redeemed for retail shop purchases or F&B.
Vouchers can only be redeemed for cruises as part of a bundled package. Eligible products will be marked with the SingapoRediscovers Vouchers icon.
All eligible Singapore citizens will receive a letter by then with information about the redemption process.
Those who may not be as tech-savvy and find it difficult to use digital vouchers can visit any of the 69 physical counters set up across Singapore. Most will be located at community centres or within a 5-minute walk from them.
Now, what impact will all this have on the recovery process for Singapore's attractions? Well, weighing in is Dr. Kevin Chong, Chairman of the Association of Singapore Attractions. Hi, Kevin. Kevin, since the SingapoRediscovers Vouchers were first announced in August, I assume your association members have been preparing for when the campaign actually starts. Now that the redemption details are settled, what has the reaction been from your members?
Well, most attractions are very excited, eagerly waiting for the redemptions. We don't know what will come out of this because it's the first time we're ever doing this. We'll just have to brace for the best.
Right. And how have your association members been preparing for the rollout of this scheme, which is just actually slightly more than a week away?
Well, for starters, we are prepared for 2 extremes. One, a tsunami of people coming forth to redeem. That will be done online, and hence there will be a lot of systems in place for time-based entry, crowd control, before entering the park, as you enter the park, and within the park itself. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is we're also raising ourselves for what if it doesn't work. So there could be also a slew of other types of promotions to entice Singaporeans and residents to come forth and enjoy themselves.
Right. Now, talking about that, Kevin, what do you make of the redemption process? Do you think it's easy enough so as people won't be deterred by the inconvenience or the hindrance?
Well, I think for starters, there definitely is going to be an issue of demand and supply. It would gravitate likely towards the more popular, bigger attractions and, of course, staycations. So that's really an issue of overperformance. But for the past few months, we have opened at 50% capacity using time-based entry systems and minimizing contact at the ticketing counters. So I think we will manage it very well. Safe management measures are in place. So we are prepared for Singaporeans to come and enjoy themselves at our parks and have a good time.
Kevin, do you actually think that the redemption process of these vouchers is easy enough, especially for the elderly among us who may not be tech savvy?
Well, yes, I think that could be an issue there, but looking at the various platforms, we have been involved with the different platforms coming in, and also with STB, we're trying to make it as simple as possible, as dummified as possible. Step-by-step guides are in place, and trying to make it as seamless as possible. So, nevertheless, I think we are prepared, and there are also hotlines to help people to navigate through the system as well. So, we'll just have to see. I think also even our seniors who didn't used to be that tech savvy pre-COVID, they would have been a lot more savvier today.
Now, Kevin, these vouchers are only redeemable by Singaporeans who are 18 years old and above this year. Now, and separately, they can purchase up to 6 child or youth tickets for younger relatives under the age of 18 at $10 off per ticket. Now, to what extent do you think this restriction will affect attractions that are primarily for children?
Well, I think there would be definitely some form of effect from there, but we're also looking at family packages and creating kind of a bundle deals to help family units coming in, so the children would not be left behind, and we're also able to break it down to $10 units and denominations for that. So that's something which we will have to monitor, especially in the first week of redemption. What kind of feedback will come in, and I think whether it's STB or ourselves, we're all prepared to make changes and tweak the system so that people do come forth and enjoy themselves and have a great day out with us.
Right. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us. It was a pleasure speaking with you as always, Kevin. And that was Dr. Kevin Cheong, who's chairman of the Association of Singapore Attractions.
Ahead of the redemption of the SingapoRediscovers Vouchers, here are some things to take note of. Each Singapore citizen aged 18 and above this year is eligible to receive the $100 worth of vouchers, which will be in denominations of $10. They can be redeemed from December 1st to June 30th next year.
The vouchers can be used at all licensed hotels, leisure attractions, as well as for local tours by operators approved by the Singapore Tourism Board to reopen or resume. The full list can be found on STB's website.
You can decide on the value of the vouchers you want to redeem for each purchase, but any unused value in a voucher will be wasted. So for instance, if you buy one $25 attraction ticket and use $30 worth of vouchers, the $5 left over will be wasted. Instead, you can use $20 worth of vouchers and top up the remaining $5 with cash.
And lastly, your SingapoRediscovers vouchers cannot be stacked or combined with another person's within the same redemption.
Things are finally looking up for the economy after what has been a tough year for many, with job losses and business closures.
Well, according to the new official forecast, Singapore's GDP growth will rebound by as much as 6% next year. Even though that's coming from a low base, it would be the economy's best performance since at least 2011. For this year, GDP is expected to shrink as much as 6.5%.
Trade and Industry Minister Chan Chun Sing explained in a Facebook post how quickly the economy can bounce back depends on a few things, including Singapore's ability to keep infection under control and adapt to a COVID world. The Straits Times' senior correspondent Ovais Subani told us that recovery is going to be a gradual process.
The economy has turned around the corner in the third quarter. That's the July-September period. Mainly aided by pent-up demand following the relaxation of the circuit breaker measures in early June. And pretty much every sector has shown a strong rebound, including construction and accommodation, food services, which were the hardest hit during the April-June circuit breaker period. Still, for the full year, we should remember that the economy will contract. It will still be the worst year in terms of economic performance for Singapore. And that means that the employment situation will not improve a lot. Although a sharp spike in layoffs of the kind we saw in the second quarter, more than 100,000 jobs were lost, that may not be repeated. In 2021, we are going to see a very sharp growth. And the last time, for example, the economy expanded by that much was about a decade ago. But the difference is the percentages can be a bit tricky. So you may get a 6% gain in economy, basically, but it wouldn't be the same as the last time. In terms of dollar and cents. So despite the big jump, the absolute value of GDP is not likely to return to pre-COVID levels until the very end of 2021.
Well, also in local news, 4 men allegedly involved in an armed robbery at a licensed moneylender shop in Jurong East were charged in court today. The men are accused of robbing OT Credit at Block 135 Jurong Gateway of $48,000 in cash last Thursday. Preliminary investigations showed they had threatened a female staff member with a karambit knife and confined her in a room before fleeing with the cash. Well, the 4 men are expected to next appear in court on Friday.
2 Singaporean pilots who flew a small private plane and made an emergency landing in Johor yesterday morning are unharmed and in stable condition. The Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia said the aircraft experienced technical problems after takeoff from Seletar Airport. One of the pilots requested for a return landing to Senai International Airport in Johor Bahru, but the plane ended up on the North-South Expressway. Malaysian authorities will investigate the incident.
Well, there were 20 cases of illegal drone operations intruding into the airspace at Changi Airport in the last 3 months. Giving this figure today, Senior Minister Teo Chee Hean said the culprits have been apprehended. He noted there were no intrusions leading to flight disruptions at the airport since July last year, after anti-drone measures were put into effect.
Singapore's 0 COVID-19 cases in the community and dormitories for the 13th straight day. Now, meanwhile, according to a source, Hong Kong has 73 new cases today, the highest daily figure in about 3 months. This takes the total cases now to about 5,700.
Well, this recent uptick in cases led to the suspension of the air travel bubble arrangement with Singapore, which was slated to take off yesterday. While addressing concerns on the sidelines of a press conference this morning, Trade and Industry Minister Chan Chun Sing said the joint decision by Singapore and Hong Kong to defer the air travel bubble was based on clear parameters that had been set out in the agreement between the two cities.
Under the agreement, the travel bubble would be suspended with a 2-day notice if the 7-day moving average for unlinked cases in either city exceeds 5. Last Saturday, Transport Minister Ong Ye Kung said the travel bubble will be deferred for 2 weeks, with the new launch date to be announced later.
Well, aviation analyst Shukur Yusof from Endow Analytics is here to share more. Hi Shukur, welcome. So this is the world's first air travel bubble. So the news that it has been suspended is disappointing because there were expectations from many parties, those who bought flight tickets, industry players and at the governmental level as well. But how much of a setback is this really?
Well, I think it's only a setback if you're involved in the logistics in the organization of the entire project. And I think it's a huge disappointment, especially for SIA. And I think also for the government, who were very much looking forward to this. And also, there's a small group of people I'm thinking of who had also booked flights on tickets on this flight and we're very much looking forward to this. But as the situation is very fluid, as we're seeing surge in second, third, now they're talking about fourth wave, I think it's only the sensible thing to do to delay it by another fortnight and see where it takes us. But at the same time, the situation is beyond anyone's control. And so we'll have to see what happens in 2 weeks.
And as you rightly mentioned, fluid, the situation is fluid, and the postponement of this air travel bubble shows exactly that. Processes and arrangements were ready and in place for it to take off, but had to be delayed due to the developing COVID-19 situation in Hong Kong. Now, in what ways is the aviation industry flexible enough to react to the fluid situation?
Well, the industry has always been flexible. Airlines have dealt with many different forces that are beyond their control for many decades, throughout history, in fact. I mean, they have had to deal with volcanoes, they've had to deal with other forms of cross-border types diseases, terrorists, and many other factors that they can't control. So this one is going to be another one in the book. And so I think for them, they understand it better now. Airlines have always been nimble, at least some of them are. There are airlines who unfortunately are not very well prepared, either financially or even organizationally. But quite a majority of them are. And so they're very quick. They are reactive to the situation. If you look back 9 or 10 months ago, I think British Airways was the first to decide not to fly to China from the UK when things weren't as big as what it is today. So they had that very first move, which was followed by other carriers throughout the world. So they're very quick. They're very active. Singapore Airlines is one of the smartest carriers around. They also are very nimble and very quick to respond to this. And I expect they will until the situation is resolved.
I see. Well, let's jump into the mindset of passengers. What frame of mind should they adopt when signing up for air travel bubble arrangements like the Singapore-Hong Kong one or any future arrangements in place? Should they be prepared for arrangements like this to be deferred, as in the case that we saw here?
I think you need to understand that you have to go through various health processes, health measures. That's inevitable. Pretty much like what happened after 9/11, when all of us have had to go through very tedious security checks, and I expect that this will be the case for passengers who want to travel from now on until such time that the vaccine is in sufficient numbers for everyone. So things will come back to normal. But until then, passengers will have to be in a mindset of of constant preparedness. They have to understand that they have to abide by certain procedures, like wearing a mask constantly, washing their hands, and perhaps some would even go so far as to wear a face shield. And there's no obvious interaction at close distances on board the aircraft. So there are many new things that they have to adapt to. And that would have been interesting to see how the first flight had gone.
Yep.
Had it gone yesterday.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Shukur, for setting aside time to speak with us. That was aviation analyst Shukur Yusof from Endow Analytics.
Thank you.
In the global headlines, UNICEF will distribute nearly 2 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines next year to developing countries. Nations like Afghanistan and Yemen will benefit as part of COVAX, which is the global COVID-19 vaccine allocation plan with the World Health Organization. And UNICEF is working with over 350 airlines and freight companies in this massive operation.
In Australia, New South Wales and Victoria states reopened their borders today after more than 4 months as coronavirus cases ease. Friends, family, even a musical duo in drag welcomed passengers as they disembarked a Qantas flight at 7:20 a.m. local time, the first of 26 flights scheduled today between the two states. The lifting of the border ban at midnight also sparked celebrations on the roads, with most drivers crossing the border honking their car horns to cheers from residents. New South Wales and Victoria closed their borders in early July, the first time in over a century.
According to U.S. media reports, President-elect Joe Biden is expected to name his longtime advisor Antony Blinken as Secretary of State. Jake Sullivan, formerly one of Hillary Clinton's closest aides, is likely to be named Mr. Biden's national security advisor. Both Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Blinken served stints as Mr. Biden's national security advisor when he was vice president. Now, incoming White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain said Mr. Biden would be making his initial cabinet announcements on Tuesday.
Closer to home, Malaysia's Transport Minister Wee Ka Siong promised that the rapid transit system link between Johor Bahru and Singapore will be finished on time by 2026. In a video posted on his Facebook page, he assured the government's commitment in making sure that the project would be carried out effectively and in an organised manner. Once completed, commuters can cross the Singapore-Malaysia border in just 5 minutes.
Well, those are our top stories for today. For more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below.
Once again, I am Haryanto Diman with Olivia Quay. Join us tomorrow for more stories on A Big Story.